You can fake strength with muscles, you can fake confidence with money, but you cannot fake calm under pressure. When life presses its blade to your throat, when your girl screams in your face, when your boss humiliates you in front of a crowd, when someone steps to you in public and your heart thunders, you reveal who you really are. Not who you say you are, not who you pretend to be, but the raw, unfiltered version of you. Staying calm in confrontation isn't just a skill, it's your real power. It's what separates the man people obey from the one they ignore. It's what makes a woman feel safe or leaves her secretly repulsed. It's what keeps you in control while the world around you burns. You were told to react. You were trained to lose your center. You were conditioned to explode, lash out, panic, overthink. But today we're going to rip that training out of your nervous system, replace it with something ancient, something real, something that makes you dangerous in the silence. Comment, "I am the calm," if you're ready to become untouchable. Every man says he wants to be powerful until power demands he learn to control himself. This isn't some pretty idea. It's survival. Whether it's your relationship, your workplace, your family, or a stranger trying to provoke you on the street, the man who stays calm owns the outcome. The world tests you every single day, not by how much you lift, not by how many quotes you repost. It tests you with disrespect, with rejection, with confusion, with chaos. And if you flinch, you lose. There are only two types of men: the one who reacts, the one who calculates. Marcus Aurelius knew this. Modern warriors, they know it too. From elite soldiers to CEOs to fighters, the real killers don't scream. They wait, and they strike with purpose. That's what you're going to learn in this video. This isn't motivation, this is reprogramming. Because if you can't stay calm in confrontation, you're not the man you think you are. Yet, let's break this down into 5 absolute laws. Not suggestions, not ideas, laws. And once you internalize them, you'll walk into any room, any battle, any chaos, and everyone around you will feel something different about you. They won't know what it is, but they'll feel it. That's presence. That's dominance, that's calm. Throughout this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do, step by step, to make this your reality. You'll hear truths no one ever told you. You'll learn tactics most men never discover. And if you apply them, you won't just avoid losing control, you'll become the storm inside the silence. So stay with me, not just with your ears, but with your entire body and soul, because the cost of ignorance is too high. Number 1, emotion is your enemy. There's a moment in every man's life that defines who he is, and it doesn't happen when he gets the job, the car, the woman, or the applause. It happens in silence, in the split second between stimulus and response, when someone disrespects him, mocks him, pushes him, or tries to embarrass him. In that moment, you either react or you respond. And that difference, that gap, is everything. Because that is where calm is either born or where chaos is unleashed. And most men, they never learned how to master that space. They've been lied to by culture, by society, by schools, by social media. They were trained to believe that expressing emotion in the heat of the moment is strength, that yelling back is confidence, that defending yourself with passion is power. But it's not. It's a trap. Because the moment you explode, the moment your face changes, the moment you raise your voice to be heard, you've already given away what little control you had. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you got into a real argument? Maybe with your girl, your boss, your brother, a stranger in traffic, and you walked away thinking, "I'm proud of how I handled that." Or did you walk away feeling regret, maybe guilt, maybe shame? Did you say things you didn't mean? Did you show your worst self, all in the name of being right or being respected or not being made to look weak? If you're honest, you probably let your emotions steer the wheel. Most men do. But let me tell you something that will set you free. You're not supposed to act on every feeling you have. Feelings are signals. They are not instructions. Just because you feel disrespected doesn't mean you have to demand respect in that moment. Just because you feel angry doesn't mean you need to raise your voice. Just because you feel insecure doesn't mean you need to prove something. This is where the new you begins. It begins by detaching from the belief that emotion equals truth. It doesn't. Emotion is an internal alarm. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong, but it's never the decision maker. You are. Let's talk about that moment your girl tries to bait you into an argument because she's upset about something else entirely. She's throwing shade, bringing up old stuff, raising her voice, maybe even insulting you. In that moment, everything in your body wants to react. Your heart rate climbs. You feel disrespected. You want to defend yourself, cut her down, shut her up. But stop right there, because that is the fork in the road. One road leads to chaos. The other leads to control. Most men take the first. They react. They yell. They argue. They say things they can't unsay. And worse, they reinforce the image of being emotionally weak. The man who can't handle pressure, the man who cracks. But you take the other road. You pause, you breathe, you detach. You don't match her tone. You don't take the bait. You look her in the eye and say, I'm not going to have this conversation in this tone. That's it. Calm, grounded, unshakable. And suddenly, everything shifts. You own the moment. You break the pattern. You lead. Or let's say you're at work. You just got blamed for something that wasn't your fault. Your boss is pressing you in front of your team. Your pride is flaring up. Every instinct is telling you to interrupt, to raise your voice, to defend yourself on the spot. But you don't, because you've trained for this. You sit tall, you look him in the eye, you let him finish. Then you respond with clarity, facts, and certainty. You don't match his energy, you control yours. That's presence, that's real power. Not just because it looks good, but because it wins, every time. The man who stays calm in fire commands the room, even if the room doesn't clap in the moment. Here's what they won't tell you. Most confrontations are not about who's right. They're about who keeps their center. Because the second you lose your emotional footing, your logic dies, your thinking narrows, your judgment fogs, and you become easy to manipulate, easy to defeat. You ever notice how some people always seem to win arguments, even when they're wrong? It's not because they're smarter, it's because they're calmer. They aren't emotionally invested in being right. They're focused on being effective, and effective always beats emotional. So how do you become that man? The one who stays cool, composed, calculated, no matter the heat? It starts with awareness. Every day you must observe yourself. What triggers you? What kinds of words, tones, looks, or situations make your stomach tighten, your jaw clench, your breathing speed up? Write them down. Study them. Because those are your enemies, not the people, not the words, the triggers inside you that make you reactive. Next, you need to train your pause. That moment between being triggered and taking action, that's your battlefield. Stretch it, protect it, make it sacred. You do this by practicing. Small things first. When someone cuts you off in traffic, don't flip out. When someone interrupts you, don't jump to speak louder. When someone disagrees with you harshly, let it sit before you speak. That's your training ground. And then it scales. You'll find yourself facing bigger storms, and you'll meet them with stillness. And you must move your body. A chaotic mind cannot live in a disciplined body. Wake up early, go to the gym, not to look good, to train resistance, to move through discomfort, because every rep under pressure teaches your mind how to stay calm under tension. You learn to breathe through the pain, and that bleeds into your daily life. Suddenly, you're not flinching when life punches you. You're steady, you're strong, you're present. Also, simplify your inputs. If your life is filled with drama, constant scrolling, toxic content, overstimulation, your mind becomes a storm. Cut it. Unfollow noise. Replace it with content that builds you. Spend time in silence. Read philosophy. Reflect. Take walks without your phone. Let your mind return to stillness. Only from stillness can strength emerge. Now let's talk about self-talk. Most men don't realize how much they lose in silence. Because every confrontation you walk into, you carry a voice with you. It's either empowering or sabotaging. Before you respond to anyone else, you're already in a fight with your own doubts. Don't let him talk to you like that. What if you're wrong? You look weak. These voices aren't truth. They're untrained noise. You have to overwrite them. Every day with affirmations, with journaling, with discipline. You don't silence them with emotion. You silence them with evidence. You build a life that proves you don't need to react. You already know who you are. The real flex. Silence. Grace. Stillness. Walking away from disrespect with your frame intact. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough not to waste your fire. You're not available for every argument. You're not interested in every battle. You pick your moments. You protect your peace. And because of that, you own the room without saying a word. Number 2, awareness is a superpower. There is a silent skill that separates the man who walks into confrontation with calm and the man who walks in ready to explode. And it's not strength, it's not experience, and it's definitely not loudness. It's awareness. The ability to anticipate the energy in a room before a word is said. To see the next 3 moves in someone's behavior before they're even conscious of it themselves. To detect not just what someone is saying, but why they're saying it and what they're not saying. This is what turns a man from reactive to untouchable, and most men never develop it. They think being calm means not speaking, or being stoic means being quiet, but calm without awareness is just emotional constipation. You don't want to just feel nothing, you want to see everything. You want to walk into a room and know exactly who's insecure, who's pretending to be strong, who's about to challenge you, who's shrinking inside, who's watching you out of envy or out of threat. That's awareness, and it's trained, not gifted. You ever been blindsided by an argument? A conversation turns tense, and you don't know why, but your body starts reacting anyway. That's because you didn't see the moment it shifted. You weren't tracking the tone, the pacing, the subtext, the tension in their face, the way they shifted their weight, the micro curve of their eyebrow. You weren't watching, you were just reacting, and that's how most men live. They're too absorbed in their own stress, their own to-do list, their own ego, to actually see the game they're in. And so when life hits, they stumble. And that's what we're fixing right now. Because if you want to be calm in confrontation, it starts long before the confrontation happens. Calm doesn't begin when someone raises their voice. It begins when you walked into the building. It begins when you read the message and sense the undertone. It begins when you walked past her and caught the cold shoulder. Awareness gives you lead time, and lead time is power. The man who sees the storm coming doesn't get caught in it. He prepares, adjusts, and stays dry while others drown. But to get that lead time, you need to develop social radar. You need to sharpen your emotional intuition, and that takes work. Start with the people closest to you, because if you can't read your family, your girl, your co-workers, you won't stand a chance reading strangers in high-stress scenarios. Pay attention to how they enter a room. Are they avoiding eye contact? Are they speaking faster than usual? Is their posture tight? Is there a lag in their usual rhythm? All of these are signals. Most people are broadcasting how they feel. They just do it non-verbally, and most men are blind to it. But when you start watching, really watching, you start seeing the patterns. And once you see the patterns, you start building anticipation. That's the key. Not guessing, predicting. Real awareness is when you stop being surprised by people. You begin to see what they're likely to say before they say it. You begin to hear the insecurity behind the insult. You begin to smell the fear behind the dominance. You begin to feel the tension building in a room before it explodes. And now, you're no longer reacting to life. You're playing chess while everyone else is playing dodgeball. Imagine you're in a meeting. You know your manager has been under pressure from above. You notice the way he's been short with everyone. You pick up on the fact that this presentation matters more to him than usual. Your co-worker starts challenging the plan, subtly undermining it. You already knew this dynamic was building because you saw it over the last 3 weeks. So when the moment comes and the manager raises his tone at you, you don't flinch. You don't take it personally. You speak with clarity, not defensiveness. Why? Because you were expecting it. You saw it building. You didn't walk into the lion's den with your back turned. You saw the tail twitching. That's awareness. And that's what keeps you calm. Or take your relationship. Your girl seems distant. She's not being mean, just quiet. You don't ignore it. You don't accuse. You ask, early, before it turns into days of resentment and explosions. And when she finally opens up, you're not shocked. Because you've been paying attention. That's what mature awareness looks like. It's not paranoia, it's presence. It's staying so grounded in your surroundings that nothing sneaks up on you. Life will still surprise you sometimes, but the more you train this muscle, the more you reduce those surprises. And the fewer surprises you get, the calmer you stay. That's the whole game. Start practicing today. Every conversation, every room, every interaction, make it your dojo. Start asking yourself, what's this person really feeling? What are they not saying? What's driving their behavior? Is this reaction about me or about something in their world that has nothing to do with me? This kind of mental questioning turns your awareness from passive into active. And active awareness leads to control. You don't just see things, you use them. You don't just observe emotions, you steer around them. You don't need to manipulate people, you need to read them. Because reading them is what keeps you grounded. Reading them is what allows you to decide, not react. Reading them is what lets you choose whether this is a battle worth entering or one worth walking away from. Reading them gives you options. And options are where freedom lives. From today, you walk different. You watch different. You listen for what's under the words. You feel for what's behind the expression. You trust your pattern recognition. You notice how people respond when you speak. You catalog the way people behave under pressure. You become a student of human behavior. And in doing that, you become unshakable in human confrontation. Number 3, slow down your breath, speed up your mind. There is a power inside you right now, and it's not hiding in your income, your title, or how many hours you've spent reading quotes or watching motivational videos. It's hidden in the one thing you've ignored most of your life, your breath. Every time you've been humiliated, every time you've lost control in an argument, every time your heart raced and your mouth got dry and your face got hot and you snapped, you thought the world was doing it to you. But the truth is, your own body betrayed you. You got hijacked. And you never knew that you had a switch the entire time, right under your nose. You don't need therapy for it. You don't need a guru. You don't need 10 years of spiritual practice. You need to control your breathing in the exact moments most men lose their ability to think. Because when your breath speeds up, your mind shuts down. But when you learn how to slow it on command, your clarity sharpens, your focus locks in, and you stop handing your power to every fool who wants to pull your strings. Imagine this. You're in a heated situation. Your girl is testing you with an unfair accusation, or your boss is putting you on the spot in front of people. In that moment, everything in your body is screaming, "Defend yourself now." Your breath is fast, short, stuck in your chest. That's not emotion, that's loss of control. Because when your breathing gets shallow, your options shrink. Your world narrows to one thing: reaction. You're not thinking, you're surviving. And that's the problem. You don't win from survival, you win from stillness. The man who can stay mentally sharp when everyone else is collapsing emotionally, he becomes the man everyone looks to and no one wants to challenge. But it starts with how you breathe. This is not about yoga. This is not about sitting in lotus position on a beach. This is about walking into confrontation and keeping your edge. You need to train yourself to breathe from the gut, not the chest. Deep, low, slow inhales through the nose. Long, steady exhales through the mouth. You need to make this your default. Because when your breath stays low and calm, your body follows. Your heart slows. Your tension dissolves. Your speech becomes deliberate. And that is when you own the moment. Not by being louder, not by being tougher, but by being composed. Do you understand what that does to people? When everyone else is loud and flailing and you're quiet, still, collected, you become the gravity in the room. That's how real influence begins. And this isn't something you wait to use when you're already in conflict. You have to train this daily. You train it in discomfort. You wake up and you sit in stillness. You breathe before your day begins. You feel your breath when you're lifting weights. You monitor it when you're in traffic. You discipline it when you're dealing with difficult people. Every moment is a rep. Every moment you control your breath under pressure, you're stacking power. Not fake power, not flexing, not performance. Real power, because your system is no longer hijacked by external chaos. Let's say you're facing a big conversation. Maybe you need to set a boundary with someone who's been disrespecting you. Maybe it's a confrontation you've been avoiding. Before you even walk into the room, you sit still. You take 5 deep breaths. In through the nose for 4 counts. Hold for 1. Out through the mouth for 6. You repeat this until your shoulders relax, your eyes sharpen, your voice steadies. Then you go in. You're not walking into that room hoping to be respected. You're walking in already anchored. And that changes everything. People feel it. They can't always explain it. But they feel it. That calm force. That inner certainty. It makes them listen differently. It makes them treat you differently. Because your breath just told the world, you're not afraid. One of the biggest mistakes men make is waiting for calm to kick in. They hope the adrenaline goes away. They pray the emotions settle down. That's backward. You don't wait for calm. You create it. You do that by breathing like the man you want to be, not the one you've been. If you want to be respected in chaos, you breathe as if you're already respected. If you want to stay sharp under pressure, you breathe as if the pressure doesn't scare you. You embody the calm before the storm, and eventually the storm stops scaring you altogether. Number 4, detach from identity, attach to mission. There's a quiet death that every man must choose if he wants to live with strength, peace, and clarity. Not the death of his body, but the death of the identity he built trying to survive in a world that never taught him what it meant to lead himself. That identity was stitched together from approval, from fear, from the desperation to matter. It's why you react to disrespect. It's why you raise your voice when challenged. It's why you hold on to opinions like weapons and arguments like battlegrounds, because your image is fragile, because your sense of who you are is attached to how others see you, and if they don't see strength, you panic. If they don't see intelligence, you defend. If they don't validate your perspective, you crumble or attack. But that's not leadership. That's ego in a costume. And the longer you keep defending that image, the further you drift from the grounded, untouchable version of yourself that you were meant to become. When you tie your sense of self to your title, your possessions, your intellect, your wins, your relationships, you become hostage to everything outside of you. Your girlfriend leaves. You question your worth. Your business fails. You spiral into shame. Someone outsmarts you in a meeting. You shut down or lash out. You start living for proof instead of purpose, and nothing you build will feel solid. You can have money and still feel hollow. You can have muscles and still feel weak. You can have followers and still feel invisible. Why? Because you are still performing for love instead of standing in truth. That's what ego does. It builds a house out of glass and calls it a fortress. And when life throws a stone, everything breaks. But here's the breakthrough. When you finally decide to let go of defending your identity and start living for your mission, everything changes. You stop reacting to every opinion. You stop needing to win every argument. You stop folding every time someone misunderstands you, because your energy is no longer spent on looking powerful. It's invested in becoming useful. Mission makes men magnetic. Mission makes men dangerous in the best way. Not because they fight harder, but because they don't get pulled into fights that don't matter. When you know where you're going, you don't stop to bark back at every dog that barks along the path. So how do you detach from identity? You start by confronting it. You ask yourself, what am I trying to protect when I get offended? What part of me feels attacked when I'm corrected? What am I afraid will be exposed if I don't defend myself? That's your false self. That's the mask. And you don't need to destroy it in one day. You dismantle it by refusing to feed it. You stop arguing when you're right but not being heard. You stop performing when you walk into rooms. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. You have a mission now. You have limited energy, and you know that emotional waste is the enemy of momentum. Now, here's where most men mess this up. They confuse detachment with apathy. They think being mission-focused means cutting off feelings, ignoring pain, walking alone. But that's avoidance, not strength. Real detachment isn't a cold heart, it's a clear one. It's feeling everything but not being enslaved to anything. It's standing in the fire and still choosing your path. It's hearing the insult and still speaking with purpose. It's knowing you were misunderstood and still walking forward, because your purpose doesn't pause for petty misunderstandings. Your calling doesn't shrink for comfort. You move anyway. That's what men with missions do. Let's ground this in life. You're in a relationship and she says something disrespectful, not cruel, just sharp. It stings. The old you would have reacted, defended yourself, raised your voice, made it about pride. But now you pause. You feel the heat. You don't push it away. You just don't become it. You respond from clarity. I'm not okay with that tone. I'm here for connection, not war. Then you stop talking, and the silence says more than your defense ever could. That's mission speaking. You didn't need to win the moment. You needed to protect your direction. Or you're at work. Someone discredits your idea in a meeting. You feel the flush of anger, the urge to bite back, prove your point. But you've been training for this. So you breathe. You don't react. You listen. You speak facts, not emotion. And because you stayed composed, your credibility stays intact and your influence expands, even if you didn't get credit that day. Because people remember the man who speaks without shaking, who thinks even when attacked, who leads when others are defending. And then there's solitude, the moments you sit with yourself and feel like you're not enough, the self-doubt, the regret, the weight of who you haven't become yet. That's where the real mission begins. You don't run from those thoughts. You face them, you name them, and then you shift your focus. What do I need to build? Who do I need to become? What would a man on mission do today? Not to look strong, but to build strength. And then you do it, without applause, without comfort, because your validation isn't out there anymore. It's in the movement, in the work, in the discipline of doing the right thing, even when no one sees it. You'll know you're making progress when you stop needing to explain your growth, when you stop needing to tell people you've changed, when your results speak, when your silence becomes more influential than your arguments, when your eyes carry weight, when your energy speaks louder than your tone. That's what happens when you detach from identity and lock into your mission. You become less reactive, more intentional, less emotional, more precise, less addicted to recognition, more anchored in contribution. Number 5. Train for chaos before it comes. The calmest man in the room isn't the one who was born different, it's the one who trained harder when no one else was watching. And what he trained wasn't just his body or his bank account or his resume, it was his tolerance for pressure, his ability to stay composed when most people would crack, his ability to choose clarity over chaos not once, not occasionally, but every single time life tried to pull him into noise. And that kind of man isn't made by chance. He's made in private, in silence, in the thousands of invisible moments where he says no to comfort and yes to the edge. Because here's what they don't tell you. Life is not going to give you warning. The test will not announce itself. The pressure will not wait for your schedule to clear. The chaos will not respect your plans. So if you're not training for chaos right now, you are unprepared. And if you are unprepared, you are already falling behind the man who is. Let's break this down, because training for chaos isn't a slogan, it's a way of life. It starts with this truth. Every situation that frustrates you, embarrasses you, overwhelms you, or exposes your weak spots is a mirror. Not a punishment, a gift, a signal, an opportunity. And if you treat those moments as inconveniences, you lose the lesson. But if you treat them like gym sessions for your character, you evolve. So when you're cut off in traffic and your body tenses, don't curse, breathe. That's your set. When your girl disrespects you and your pride flares, don't yell, stay grounded. That's your rep. When your plans fall apart and you feel rage rising, don't escape into distraction. Sit with it. That's your work, because every one of those is a controlled burn, a microfire that either consumes your calm or forges it, and most men spend their lives running from them. But you run into them on purpose. This is about building a life that makes you stronger every single day, and not in a way that burns you out or wears you down, but in a way that refines you like steel. And for that, you need structure. So let's talk about your mornings. If you wake up and your first interaction with the world is a screen, you've already lost the day. You've handed your attention to someone else's agenda before anchoring in your own. That's not preparation, that's programming. You need to claim your mind first. Wake up, breathe before you scroll. Sit in silence before you speak. Train your focus before the world scatters it. And if you want bonus strength, add resistance, cold water, hard reading, deep journaling, early training. Not because it makes you look disciplined, because it gives you the emotional calluses you'll need when the world tests you without mercy. If you only practice staying calm when people are kind, you're faking growth. Real training happens when you're misunderstood, when someone throws shade in a subtle way, when someone doubts you, questions your integrity, brings up your past. That's the moment you either return fire or return to breath. That's the moment you either defend your ego or double down on mission. And you train for that by entering conversations without armor. You let people talk, You let them misread you. You let them push your limits. And you smile, not out of weakness, but because you're watching yourself stay still while your old self would have burned the whole room down. That's training, that's strength, that's mastery. And let's not forget work, business, money, career. You want to lead people, you want to earn more, you want to influence and inspire. Then you better be unshakable, not perfect, not emotionless, just trained. Trained to hold frame when the deal goes south. Trained to breathe through discomfort when your team is panicking. Trained to pivot with poise when your launch fails, or your numbers tank, or your investors pull out. That's the man they promote. That's the man people follow. Not because he always wins, but because he never collapses. So what does this training look like day to day? It looks like friction, not chaos you can't control, but discomfort you choose. You choose silence when you want noise. You choose truth when you want comfort. You choose presence when you want to distract. You choose stillness when you want to lash out. You choose structure when you want to drift. And every time you make that choice, you harden your center. You upgrade your baseline. You become the man who doesn't just react less, but who radiates more. More clarity, more trust, more certainty. That's what calm really is. It's not being passive. It's being so fully trained in the fire that you carry peace into every room, even when you have every reason to panic. Every man wants power. Every man wants respect. Every man wants to walk into a room and feel like nothing in it can break him. But few are willing to do what it actually takes to become that man. Because power doesn't come from being feared. It comes from being unmovable. Respect doesn't come from demanding it. It comes from embodying it. And control. It's not about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself, especially when everything in you wants to lose it. This journey you've just taken, through emotional mastery, deep awareness, breath control, mission clarity, and pre-chaos training, isn't just information. It's the mirror you've been avoiding, the standard you've been ignoring, the version of you that already exists underneath the noise. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to remove everything you were never supposed to be. It's not about suppressing emotion. It's about becoming bigger than it. It's not about being a stone. It's about being a mountain, immovable, not lifeless. It's not about reacting faster. It's about responding with wisdom so your every move is sharp, calm, intentional. This isn't about perfection. You will still get triggered. You will still stumble. But you'll recognize it faster. You'll recover quicker. And you'll respond like a man who's done the work. A man who's no longer at the mercy of his past. No longer reacting from wounds. No longer dancing to the world's chaos. You are the one who owns the room now. Not because you force it. Because your presence says it before your mouth opens. If this spoke to you, comment, "I am unshakable." Say it not for me, but for the version of you that's now awake. And if you want to see more, if you want to live at this level, grow at this depth, and become the kind of man other men respect silently, then support this channel, not for the algorithm, but because every time you do, you help reach the man out there still spinning in his emotions, still lost in distraction, still looking for the wisdom you just found.